Okay, morning everybody. My name is Jody Swain and I am the founder of Hire and Fire Your Kids, the world's first gamified parenting app. I think more so than ever these days, parents are feeling ever stressed and frustrated with their kids' screen time, behaviors, and lack of help around the house. And whether we like it or not, kids prefer to communicate with this versus this. Parents are truly overwhelmed and are looking for help with friction-free communication, managing their house rules, and helping kids really understand the differences between needs and wants. So what's available today that can help? Well, I think for me, like a lot of families, you raise your kids how we were raised. We rely on friends and family to help us on our parenting journey. And when we realize we may need a little more help along the way, we can turn to books, podcasts, or the multitude of articles that are out there. And lastly, you can look for some professional help and hire a therapist, a coach, or a parenting course. But we are in the digital age, and there's a ton of apps out there. But the apps you'll find that are available are catered towards helping families with younger children. And if you're actually to Google parenting apps, you'll find there's no such thing. There is no tool to help you raise your kids in the digital age until now. Hire and Fire Your Kids is a customizable game that allows parents to manage the behaviors and chores in their home using a system of recognition, reward, and consequence. And we do this digitally through gameplay. And so we're finding the game is actually reducing friction in the home as it's helping parents really prepare their children and teens with household responsibilities, money management, and life skills for a successful future. So you essentially get to hire your kids for jobs around the house and can fire them if they're caught one too many times not following that family value or expectation. And the app is used daily in the home to empower kids and really help parents raise great financially savvy kids who will have the skills they'll need to take on the world. So we have over 12,000 registered users and received a number of testimonials. Here's just 3 of our families who enjoy the no assigning, no nagging, and the accountability we provide to keep them on track. We've had a number of recommendations from psychologists, social workers, and behavioral therapists. Most recently, we've been added as a resource by Autism Speaks Canada and the Boys and Girls Club. Our market, well, Gen Z is an emerging demographic with unprecedented marketing potential. And inside is a sub-market of teens and tweens who actually influence billions of dollars of their family spending. So our plan is to target parents of this group, more specifically moms, and we'll work with micro-influencers found on Facebook and Instagram to join us as ambassadors to promote the brand, as well as the Hire and Fire Your Kids community. We also plan to use App Store optimization and advertise on apps with similar target markets such as MyFitnessPal, Noom, Candy Crush, Flow Yoga, and more. And lastly, hire a PR team to drive the brand awareness and customer acquisition using all media channels. So Hire and Fire Kids is really, as I said, the only sort of true parenting app out there. And what sets us apart, I think, is that we're helping parents do the one thing that parents really want for their children, which is to help them be the best selves they can be. Hire and Fire Kids is a trademark name that captures attention, and keeping parents accountable is a top priority for us. So we encourage in the app parents to remind them to recognize their kids, stick to their family meetings, reward their kids on time, and ensure they're playing daily to see the positive behavioral changes in their home. We are the only app that has kids applying for jobs, so there's no assigning or telling our kids what to do. We really want to empower the children and put a high focus on the kids taking initiative and self-motivation. But the secret sauce really, I think, is the game itself of Hire and Fire with our superhero Warning X and our recognition check. And Hire and Fire really becomes the buffer between parent and child. And we cover things like hygiene, manners, family values, behaviors, expectations, money management, and more, all in one app. And yes, there's competition. You'll find a ton of chore apps out there and allowance apps, focusing on the financial literacy, but there is 0 gamified parenting apps to help you raise great financially savvy kids in this digital age. Our team, well, we are a small family-operated startup. I have over 20 years of consumer activities, primarily in sales, marketing, and operations. That's my husband, Ted. He has over 20 years in the financial services industry, primarily in product management, business development, and operation. That is my sister, Lisa, over 25 years working in software and tech. She manages all of our creative and marketing activities, including user experience. And lastly, Crewware, not a relative. They are development partners based out of India, and they've been with us every step of the way. So we partnered with the Blackhawk Network. They're a global leader in commerce solutions, and we just launched our Kids Cash program here in the US and Canada. So kids can now redeem their payday earnings towards gift cards of their choice right in the app, and we basically get paid a distribution fee for every card load. But our goal is to move into the fintech space as the world of money is changing, and we want to help parents and kids feel comfortable, confident, and capable in this space. And we can do this through offering our own hire and fire debit card, or do this by aligning with some strategic partners who are already doing this really well, and they can own the back end. We can also accomplish this moving more into the B2B space as we target banks, corporations, schools, and more, white labeling our software. Milestones, I'll read them all. Obviously, there's a ton on here, but I really just want to draw to your attention that, we incorporated fall of 2018. We launched to the App Store and Google Play as an MVP, as well as the web app, fall of 2019. Partnered with Blackhawk Cards last fall, and this fall joined the RevTech Accelerator Program, and we're currently pitching for seed investment. And so our ask is we're looking for a $500,000 investment for a 20% stake to help us continue the development of our technology, expand our team to enhance operations, and market the product in North America. And lastly, I'll leave you with this. It's not what you do for your children, but what you've taught them to do for themselves that will make them successful human beings. Hire and Fire Kids is a lifestyle change. It is not a fad. It's really a tool to help parents effectively communicate with their kids and empower their kids to contribute to their households in a meaningful way. So let's build them up today to be confident, independent, and happy adults of tomorrow. Thank you.
There you go. Jody, nice presentation. You're right, the name is very catchy. And so I think that grabs attention immediately, so that's great. So has anyone mentioned the company Tycoon to you? Tycoon was a very similar business backed by Doug Lebda, the Lending Tree CEO. It was started probably 2010. It was a similar, do you remember? Oh, yeah. It was a similar business, and they put a lot of money into it and ultimately failed. And so I think there's a lot that could be learned. I can't remember, I don't think you could necessarily get to Doug, but there were several other people in Charlotte involved. I know that. And we can put you in touch with them because I think there's probably a lot of lessons learned from Tycoon. So with that said, my experience, my kids at the time were 12 and 14 years old, put them on Tycoon, they picked up some chores. It was a fun thing to do for about 2 months. And then they lost interest, the novelty wore off, and I lost my kids on Tycoon. So, I think the engagement factor, now gamification is a great thing. And the engagement is gonna be the differentiation for you. And so, eventually you're gonna have 100% churn because eventually the kids are gonna grow up and move on. But if you can keep them engaged for those formative years, that would be a great thing. I think what Tycoon struggled with was the engagement, so call it churn, like my kids churned after 2 months. And then, honestly, how to make money. That was challenging. You see a lot of apps in the App Store, they're free to download. You may see an ad pop up here and there. But the ad strategy is gonna be tough. But you had a couple of other revenue streams there. So those are the things that I would give you feedback on, and if you can touch base with someone that was part of the Tycoon group, just to understand, you can learn a lot from maybe their mistakes. As far as the things I look for in the pitch, I think you hit all of them. The only one I missed was barrier to entry. You said that you're the only app that does this, and this. But yeah, I'd just be interested in some of the things that you developed that might form a moat for others to join. And then finally, on the traction side, man, you have a lot of traction because I couldn't read anything on that slide. Eliminate some of that stuff. Just give me the high points. And if you have financial traction, make that big and bold. Would love to see that. And number of users, I think I saw somewhere, it might have been your original pitch for RevTech. I think you had like 1,200 users or something like that. That should be bold also.
Yeah, over 12,000 users. Yeah.
I'm sorry, 12,000, even better.
Yeah.
So 12,000.
Not all active though. I wish they were all active. They're not all active.
Yeah, well, that's the other measure is you're going to have 100% churn eventually,
Yeah.
but are you keeping them active? Unlike my children who failed after 2 months,
Yeah.
are you keeping them active for a much longer? That's going to be a key KPI for you is the length of time you can keep the children and parents engaged.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a couple of things then, Jody. First of all, I really, really like the way you laid out, here's the problem and here's the solution we're offering, right? So that was great because it got me really focused on what you were doing right up front. I think that's important. You did mention the 12,000 users because I wrote it down.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
So you did cover that, and I appreciate that because that was a very good sense of traction. And again, on your solution side, you laid that out very effectively, right? It's recognition, rewards, consequences, and so I like that. Where I started to get a little confused was what was your target market? Obviously, the parents, because you can't market directly to the kids very effectively, right? So you're trying to get to the parents, and I was unsure of. Was this an app that the parents used, or was it something that required the kids to actually have a cell phone and be able to interact with the application itself, right? So that wasn't clear from the presentation.
Okay.
And I think that's very important because if they do require that digital device, then it pushes them up in age group that you're targeting, right? I think from you even said it, right? There are a ton of chore apps out there, right? And I've got a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old grandkids, and they're very short. Their mother is very, very, we'll just call it disciplined, right? So she's got a chore chart that she hangs up and uses, and they focus and they do so they're doing all of that, but they're doing it like with a big sign in the kitchen, right? So I think one of the things I'd really have liked to have seen was, where do you define yourself as competing, right? It's Gartner does this on the technology side, right? They have their magic quadrant, and then you pick the axes and say, this is where we fit relative to the competition. That's really helpful for an investor to get a good view of where you fit, and especially if it's a crowded space. And again, if this was an investor pitch, I'd have liked you to spend a little more time on how do you make money, because you did it a little bit, right? And there was a distribution fee for, which I didn't really 100% get because you didn't have time to explain it. And then there was a membership fee, so I presume then you're charging the parents some kind of monthly number. And again, that's a hurdle, right? Because if you're actually forcing the parents to pay something, are they willing to do it? And, again, where does that fit? I did like it. I'll compliment you. You did spend enough time on the team, and you went back and forth on all the different team members and what they contributed. So that was well done. And Tycoon, I'll dredge up the name for you because I know one of the people that was very actively involved in that, and I will get that to you today via LinkedIn.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jody.
All right, thanks, Jody.